All right, so back again, and this on this video, I just want to be able to talk a little bit about exactly what is motivational interviewing. I'm going to pretend some of my people in my audience have maybe heard this term before, but maybe have no real familiarity with it. And I'm going to give you some basic concepts that I think are important, again, before you come into our training about what motivational interviewing is. So, that being said, I'm just going to go and share my screen. This is my website that I've used to do motivational interviewing trainings for years now. And feel free to share to look at it. It is completely free of charge. This is information I just have out there, and it's something I feel like is just necessary for people who might be interested. So, again, this is my website, and we'll just start out right here on what is motivational interviewing. So, I like this definition. Don't get me wrong. Motivational interviewing is a patient-centered, guided method of communicating and counseling to elicit and strengthen motivation for change. Doesn't that sound wonderfully technical? Yeah, I think it is. Um, so this is where I have Will's definition of MI, because through the years, I guess, of doing this, if you've been doing this for about 20 years, I guess you get to make up your own definition. At least I did. So, what I like to say is motivational interviewing is really a soft way of having a person take a hard look at their own life based on their own values, their own interests, their own motivations, strengths. I go further than just this definition. But the biggest part about this is their own kind of motivation in their life. All the while, a key consideration for us in motivational interviewing is really working to avoid what we call the backfire effect. This is the most counterproductive thing that I think can happen, no matter what kind of provider you are for a client. I think the backfire effect is one of the most concerning things that I see that can lead to some bad health outcomes for other people. So, with that being said, I have a really quick video from Adam Runs Everything. I always like showing that, and it really illustrates the backfire effect fairly well. We'll come back on the other side and talk about it here in a second.
Your entire show is built around the idea that if you present someone with better information, you can change their mind. But the surprising truth is, disproving a misconception can actually strengthen a person's belief in that misconception. It's called the backfire effect. The more you prove someone wrong, the more they think they're right.
That can't be true. I change people's minds every day.
You just proved my point. I presented you with information that goes against your thinking, and you just dug right into your beliefs. One study found that when people concerned about side effects of the flu shot were informed it was safe, they actually became less willing to get it.
But that's so illogical. How is that possible?
Because when you try to change someone's mind, the other person often feels attacked. Being proven wrong actually activates the same area of the brain as real physical pain. World Star.
Stay with me, kid. Her right hook will hurt you, but her right facts will too.
Being proven wrong hurts so much, it often causes a fight or flight response.
I gotta get out of here.
Nope. You need to hear this.
Why am I reacting like this? Normally, I love learning new things.
Simple. You're protecting your identity. It's called identity protective cognition.
All right, so hopefully you enjoyed the Adam Runs Everything backfire effect. I like this video. It's really short, quick, to the point, but extremely accurate, that when people are not ready to consider a change, or they may have a thought process that is counter to the change that maybe you're thinking about them making, if we do not address this in the correct way with that person, it can actually make the person feel attacked and less likely to be able to engage in that behavior. Again, just like that with the flu shots, being able to give a person good information about the flu shots and trying to argue out the other side of why the flu shot is actually effective and safe will actually make people less likely to get it in the end. Why? Because they don't feel like their experience was validated. Maybe they don't feel like they were heard, understood. In these cases here, we're not taking their viewpoint like I'm asking you to do on Will's definition. We're trying to install a viewpoint. And when people feel like that's happening without their consent, that is going to lead to that backfire effect a lot. So, that being said, just the basic concepts of motivational interviewing. and I'm not going to belabor the point a lot here, but I really like thinking about that guided method of communicating with that person. The worst thing we can do is get in a very directive role with a person. That really gets back into that backfire effect that I tried directing a person. And when some people are directed, some people are ready for that. Some people are motivated. Some people need that expertise. You have to know the kind of person you're working with. But a lot of people need more work done than just being directed. And sometimes that directed style, I always like to use the analogy is if you're driving in a car with a person and your client, your patient is in the driver's seat. It is their car, by the way. It's their body, their car, their rights. But I'm the provider and I'm trying to kind of tell them where to go. A directive style is a person says, hey, you need to take a right here. And they're like, I don't want to take a right. And you're like, yeah, but you need to. And they're like, yeah, but I'm not going to. Some people are going to be motivated to try to take the steering wheel if they're in the passenger seat and just yank it to the right. What's anybody's natural reaction going to be if you're the driver? You're going to yank it back to the left. You see your client being resistant at that time. So what you do is when you feel that tension, you even try to pull it back harder to the right because you're like, no, you need to go this way with making this decision. Your client experiences that. Naturally, what are they going to do? They're going to pull more to the left at that time. So that directive style sometimes can really lead to a real tug of war between the client and the patient, or the client and the provider. This is why we really look at this minimizing discord part. That can be seen as resistance, them pulling you pulling on one side of the wheel, them pulling back. In motivational interviewing, we don't really want to think about it as resistance. There's just a discord. There's a disharmony going on between me and the other person that needs to be settled before we can actually decide how we need to drive forward with each other. So in this, what I get very concerned about is, and again, I'm not describing guided quite yet, but some providers do this directing thing, get very exhausted. My concern is this creates burnout for a lot of good providers. And then a lot of providers will just go to that passive kind of style of kind of working with their clients. In these cases here, they're just like, well, people are going to change when they want to change. Can't make people change if they don't want to. They just kind of give up on being in the passenger seat. They might just be asleep in the back seat, I guess, at that time. And that's a real passive following style. Bad news about that is that's really not you allowing your expertise to come into play with that person who may be contemplating a change but not quite be ready to make those changes yet. So we really want to try to minimize that discord. And the best style that we have found to do that is the guided method. I didn't used to have a good example, and now I do. Back when I started giving these trainings, I didn't have my phone on me all the time. But now, Google Maps, I don't know if you can see it. I have maps up. This is a great thought process as to what a guided style looks like when working with a patient. What I like about this is this allows you to be this resource for your client. They put in what they would like to do. Now, of course, you can have some help in inputting this and considering what they would like to try to do and where they'd like to try to go. And what I really like about maps is usually when you're like, hey, I want to get from point A to point B, and you hit yes, that's where I want to go and search, it'll give you 3 different directions. We love giving people a menu when it comes to motivational interviewing. If we get people, hey, you really could, if it's weight loss, you really could lose weight by dieting, by exercise, by considering this other alternative of your medications or taking a look at this. Like, it's nice to be able to give people a menu. What we find out about that is it's almost guaranteed to get past the backfire effect because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm giving you a couple different routes and letting you decide what route's best for you. So some of the biggest things about that guided style is just give people that option, give people that menu. Highly effective when it comes to being able to manage that discord or that resistance that way. Other things about the guided method that I think is so important is, well, just leave this to my crowd. Have you ever been perfect on completing all your goals all the time, everywhere you go? We haven't, right? Me neither. I'm right there with you. The biggest thing about motivational interviewing, and just like what I love on maps, is if a person misses their turn, if a person misses their goal, what the nice thing about Google Maps is it just reroutes you. And that's our job as providers, is just to be there and reroute with our clients. If our clients missed goals, if our clients missed their medications, if they weren't so good about being able to get on the diet, the exercise, it's about rerouting with that person. That I think is so critically important to being able to be an effective provider. And again, that's no matter whether you're a therapist, a dentist, working in the justice system, whatever it is at that time. So many times it's just about being able to be patient and accepting with that person. I think it's such a big part to that guided method. I'll talk about that in the spirit here in just a second as to some of the things we try to do to really facilitate that guided method. Outside of that, though, biggest parts about that is that guided method. Other parts about this too is eliciting change talk. How much is this person wanting to make a change? Is this person saying, well, I want to do this, or I need to do this? There's a difference between a person using the language of I want to versus I need to. I'm not going to get into it a ton today, but if you want to click on that change talk part of this, please feel free to click on that as well. And then outside of that, again, is that just exploring and kind of resolving or looking to resolve that ambivalence. Ambivalence is I can feel two different ways about the same thing. And ambivalence, don't think of that as being indifferent. Some people make that mistake. Ambivalence is I can feel very strongly about two things that way. I really do need to give up my drinking, but I really can't see myself making all the lifestyle changes I need to make to do that. I may be in trouble with the courts for this. I may be court ordered to come in. I may have these treatment goals. If I know if I don't do this, I could be putting my life in jeopardy. I could be putting my life at risk by not doing this. At the same time, I'm struggling with letting go of some of those behaviors. They're just what I do by default that way in my life. So big parts about this in MI is how do we help a person resolve that ambivalence about that thing they may be feeling ambivalent about? Sometimes they're very motivated to work on some aspects of their life. You'll see that here coming up in some of the examples that we'll be dealing with when we're on campus or during the training. But in some of the vignettes, you're going to also see that a person may be not quite motivated yet. And how I talk to them about one particular behavior may be very different than how I'd have to talk to them about another behavior, because maybe they're not as motivated yet. Maybe they're more ambivalent about their drinking than they are their weight loss. Maybe they're more ambivalent about being medication compliant than giving up smoking at that time, or working through their treatment goals in speech or something along those lines. So I think just being or working on managing their depression, that's a better example there. In these cases here, it's going to be really good just to be able to look and see, well, I think this person's kind of ambivalent here, but they're kind of ready over here. This is one of the biggest things we're looking for in MI is, where do we need to be really resolving that? Also, things about this too, not that we want to become cheerleaders, but we should be there to encourage people, offer hope, offer some confidence that way, help people feel motivated and supported along the way too. So many times I'm looking to affirm my clients, give an affirmation. I have what's called Will's 5-minute rule. I try to find affirmation the first 5 minutes of working with a person to try to develop that good rapport. And then by the end of my session too, I'm always looking to be able to offer that hope and that confidence that even maybe if we haven't made a change that day, just being able to consider it, I think, is a real strength and a real positive quality. So often we're really trying to work to offer that hope and confidence part as well. All right, so this is the basics of what is motivational interviewing. I think at this time, I'm going to go ahead and take a break here. And the next time we're going to come back and I'm going to kind of dive into that guided style and what it looks like to have the MI spirit when working with people and some of the key factors that really help us orient to that guided style. So I'll see you on the next video.